owns the Express Employment Professional. He's been an owner of the Express Professionals for the last 15 years. Chuck and I go back quite a while. So when I was the Director of Human Resources for Ralston Corporation, he was the Vice President of HR at Wabash National. He got his bachelor's degree from Purdue University Krannert School. He got his master's degree from Purdue University College of Technology in 2001. And he is a senior professional of human resource with a certification. He's married to a wonderful wife named Kathy, 39 years, soon to be 40, who's a retired school teacher. And she partners with Chuck in the business he has. He has two children, Katie and Chad, both Purdue grads. He has 3 and almost 4, due in 3 weeks, grandchildren, and some dogs, McGregor and Clancy, that are neither working or in school. But I asked Chuck to address the situation here in Lafayette. How difficult is it to find good applicants that are qualified for the jobs that are available here, and just kind of give us an overall view of the challenge he has before us, as well as a lot of the employers trying to find good applicants here in the Lafayette, the Greater Lafayette area. So please help me welcome, Kiwanis, welcome to Chuck Fish.
Thank you. I don't know, do I need this?
Yes.
I will? Okay. Because I talk pretty loud.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work, so I'm going to hold this.
Try to get Rotary, give us money to fix it.
We'll work on it. Oh, God, I got a gavel. Wow, that's a lot of authority. I don't know what to do with all that. Okay. Well, thank you for having me, and Rodney, thank you for the invitation. What we're seeing in Lafayette is something that happens, at least in my career, very, very seldom. I think in the 40 years I've been doing it, this is maybe the second time I've seen unemployment drop as low as it is. I think a couple months ago we were at 2.2%. We might be a little bit higher than that now, but it's basically full employment. That's where we're at. And so when we talk about it, and we're going to go over just real quickly, the initial thing that I put up there, employees are our greatest asset. That was one of the values that we developed at Wabash National when we opened. And so companies develop missions and values. This was one of our values. Employees are our greatest asset. And companies do this all the time. They talk about we are one team, we believe in our people, our employees are our customer, so on and so forth. Customers will never love a company until employees love it first. All these things come from value statements from different companies. So all companies state that employees are important to them and that's an important part of their operations. However, they don't always follow those guidelines. When we talk about lack of workers, is it a problem? Well, it's a problem in Lafayette. We understand that. But New York Times talks about lack of workers in March. Not work weighs on the nation's economy. It went on, Industrial Week, talked about worker shortage. LA Times, over and over and over again, there are articles coming out about the labor shortage and the effect it's having on our United States economy. And so as we look at it, we talk about, and I use this example a lot with employers, we have a leaking bucket. So with employers, I deal a lot with manufacturing employers, and they talk about they can't find enough good people. They're constantly looking for people to fill openings. And yet they lose so many people, and they have a hard time retaining the employees that they have. If they could retain their employees, then their employment problems would not be nearly as bad as they are. So we're going to talk about both, attracting and selecting employees as we go through here. And you notice the neat little funnel I have here? Okay. This is the depth of my PowerPoint ability. You're about ready to see it? First off, if we look at all workers, and I talk to employers about this all the time, if you look at the employees you're trying to attract and you say the top of the funnel is all those workers that have that skill and work history that you're looking for, then the bottom of the group, as it narrows down, are the highly skilled with good work history. So as employers come to me, which one do you think they want? They all want that high-skilled, good work history associate. However, When you look at their pay, benefits, or intrinsic value, it will tell you where they're going to get people in that funnel. And I have people come to me all the time and say, I want these, I want this qualification, this qualification. And I say, no, you're not going to have that because there's not enough out there for you to make those kind of selections. So we spend a lot of time on selection that we can't do. There really isn't a selection process. It's more, what can we accept as an employer and what can we pay for? And that's the attraction and selection issue that we're in today. Now you're about ready to see a slide that is just chuckfish, all right? This is my beliefs on what affects attracting and retaining employees. And in my opinion, there are three things that affect it, and we can only change two of them. There are the environment that we live in, our selection criteria, what we're going to do to get people in the door, attract them and select them, and then finally the culture of the organization. If we look at the environment that we're in as a company, that's the product we make. That establishes a lot of times what we can pay, because our product, depending on what the labor rate and the labor costs are as a percentage of sales, will drive what we can pay in our benefit package. Where we work at, where's our plant located at? Can we move it? Yes, we can. Is it expensive? Is it hard? Absolutely. So where we're located at is part of our environment. The unemployment rate is part of the environment that we can't deal with. We have to deal with what it is. Things like the price of gas, it can expand or contract our recruiting area. All the things that are in our environment are things as employers that we can't change. They are what they are. So what are we going to work on? Well, we're going to work on the next couple. We're going to work on our selection and recruitment. We're going to come up with recruiting methods and ways to bring people in. We're going to look at our selection criteria and make it realistic. We're not going to try to joke ourselves into the fact that we want all these different things and we can't get it. In other words, if I'm paying $10 an hour and I live on the outside of Lafayette, or my plant's on the outside of Lafayette, on the edge of it, I need to try to think of some ways to get people there, because a lot of the people at $10 an hour don't have cars. If they do have cars, they may not have a driver's license. So how am I going to deal with that if I require them to have a driver's license? I can't find them. So my selection process has to match up with what I'm doing. My image in the community. All these things that you're seeing up here, and you probably can't see them very well, have to do with our ability to recruit and bring people in. And that's something we can control, but we have to be realistic at it, and it has to be a constant drive if you want to bring in the right people. The last one is culture. Now this is the environment that you're going to make as an employer. What's it like to work in your plant? I worked at Wabash National, okay? That was my company. I loved Wabash National. It's a great company. But we were putting together semi-trailers, not semiconductors. There was welding, riveting, cutting, grinding. Everything that goes into a semi-trailer is hot, and when you slide it out the door, it doesn't slide out. You got to raise that door up 16 feet to get it out the door, and when it's hot outside or cold outside, everything's coming in. So the environment at Wabash was hard, and it's a tough thing to sell. Okay, so all those things are part of the culture that you have, so you have to develop things around those. And you have to develop things in your culture that make people want to work for you. If you want to be an employer of choice, someplace where people want to work, then it's going to become from your culture and your image in the community. So when somebody asks you, where do you work at? Do you feel good about what you're telling them? Do you feel proud of the fact that you work for that company? If you do, I guarantee you it's going to make recruiting a lot easier for those companies and retention. So those are the three factors that we have in attracting and retention. So when we talk about attracting, I'm going to give you express employment's attraction. we went through 2,606 inquiry calls first 6 months of this year. And believe it or not, that's up from last year, even with the unemployment rate. 46% of our inquiry calls come from referrals. People we've had in the office, relatives of people we've had there, clients, other people. We actually pay a referral fee if somebody will refer somebody and they get a job. So referrals for us are huge. And in order for somebody to refer people to us, they got to feel good about us. They got to feel good that we're going to take care of them. We're going to treat them with dignity. We're going to treat them with respect that they deserve when they walk through that door. Even if we can't help them, and believe me, we can't help a lot of them. But we treat them all like that. The other one that comes in is returning applicants. 18% of that 2,606 people were people that had worked for us in the past. They may have gotten a job and something happened, or they moved and then they came back. And they came back to see us again. After that, then it comes into recruiting. 12% are social media now. 5 years ago, that was probably 6%, maybe half of that. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all those other things on social media that you have out there bring people in. We use Facebook all the time. It's amazing. You can do something called push on Facebook, okay? I have no idea what that means. However, I have people that work for me that do, thank God, okay? Because we use it all the time to find people. Our Express website, if you Google staffing, hiring in Lafayette, Express is going to come up. This is a funny one. Drive-by signage, we used to be on 52, right behind the Little Mexico restaurant. Had a sign on 52, busiest thoroughfare throughout Lafayette. Last year, we bought a small office across the park, across the road from the park on the end of Scott Street. Now, there's not much traffic on Scott Street, yet my drive-by signage went up by 4%. You want to know why? The little train that goes around the park comes down and does a U-turn right across the street from us. Those parents have nothing to look at but my sign the entire time they're coming around there. I swear to you that's got to be it. I hope that train runs forever. And finally, web things like Monster, Career Builder, Indeed. All those come together to make up most of our recruiting. Now, we don't stop there. If you go around to different restaurants, you might see a flyer. If you go into a Hispanic grocery store, you might see a little thing where you rip off our number. You could see different things, posters up around town. 10 years ago, my budget for newspaper advertising was $4,000 a month. Today, it's zero, because nobody finds their job through the newspaper anymore. Very few do. So that has been replaced with all the other things that we're seeing come up here. And it's one of those things where recruiting is something that we do every day. For us, it's our livelihood, it's a lifeline, and so we have meetings on it, we have brainstorming sessions on it, and we think about it a lot, just to get people in the door. There's classified publications and radios now about 2%. And then trade shows is about 2%. So if we look at selection, all right, so we get somebody to call in, 2,606 people, the first 6 months called us and say, hey, I'm interested in finding a job. We do an inquiry call with them in lasts about 2 or 3 minutes. We'll find out a little bit about them. What are you doing? What was your last job? How long were you there? What kind of pay do you want? What are you looking for? 2 to 3 minutes, very, very short, to see if we can help them. If we can, we will schedule them to fill out an application, and it's online, and an interview right then. The application, we'll ask them to fill it out for their own easy. It's a lot easier if they do it before they get there, and they can do it on their phones. I cannot tell you what higher percentage it is for employees to fill out applications on their phones. I can't do it. I mean, I have a hard time getting around I have a huge one. I got the biggest iPhone that you can get because I can't poke things in there. And I watch my son or some other kids do it, and they're just doing it with 2 thumbs. It's amazing. But they fill out their applications online, and we get them in fast. So we ask them to fill it out, and within 24 hours, we want to interview them. And when we tell them we want them to come in for an interview, 3 years ago we would have said, we'd like to interview you. Can you come in, Tuesday or Thursday at 3 o'clock, and we'll talk to you then about a job. You know what we say today? Your background looks great. I've got several different job opportunities for you that pay well with benefits. We need to get you in here right away. We need to get you in this door and into this job because this is a great opportunity for you. So how soon can you come in? Can you come in today? If not today, tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock? Great. Let's get you in here and get you in that application. Because why? There's a lot of opportunities, a lot of jobs out there. And we do have good jobs. One of the things about Express, one of our benefits that we have is right now, as we're standing here, I am looking for people for 44 different companies. Okay? I don't have 1, 2, 3, 5 companies that I'm working for. I've got 44. 44 different types of jobs with different types of skill levels, with different kinds of pay, and different kinds of benefits. So when we tell them that we've probably got a good job for them, if their background's right, we are honest. We are telling them up front. And they need to come in because we need to get them into it. So we will tell them that fast. We will get them interviewed fast. We will be excited. And we are excited. Because what's more important to a person than finding a good job to take care of themselves and their family? It gives you dignity. It gives you respect. It makes you part of the community. Your job, you spend 1/3 of your waking hours at work. Why not have a job you like? Why not have a job you enjoy? So that's what we want to do. We want to get them in fast, and we're going to get them the interview, and then the interview process is very, very specific. And it depends on every client we have what we're looking for. And then we're going to make a decision based on preset criteria, and we're going to make the decision fast. While they're sitting there, we may do references. If they're sitting there, we may call the client while they're sitting there and say, hey, we got somebody. Can you interview them? Can you talk to them right now? Because it's important that they understand that we work for them as much as we work for the client. Because we do. Because right now, those people are out there and they're working hard to get a full-time job, and they're paying me. So I better be taking good care of them, and I better be treating them right. So we're going to, based on the criteria, what fits best for that associate and that job, because we do not want to put an associate in a job where he's going to fail. It's not good for him, it's not good for the client. So we want them based on that criteria, and we want to do it fast. Everything happens fast, because within 48 hours, they should be working. Then 48 hours, either that or they should be assigned and ready to start work. Of that phone call coming in, we should have them assigned or working. That's a selection process the way it is today. I had one client that we had to quit working with. And the reason we had to quit working with them is that they had an HR person in Ohio that wanted to do phone interviews before they started. Now, she didn't work here at this location. And so we would send her candidates. And then she would wait a couple of days and contact us and say, okay, we'd like to talk to this person. And then she would set that up for 2 days later. And we did that 4 or 5 times, lost every one of them. So finally I called her up and I said, look, I said, we can't do this. It's taking too long. I'll pay for the first 4 hours they're at your plant. Let your supervisors and your managers watch them work for 4 hours. If they don't like them, they can send them home, won't cost you a dime. You can do a phone interview with them while you're there at your plant. I just need to get them out there and get them going. She wouldn't do it. I said, I can't help you. Because those 4 or 5 people that we lost could have had a good job someplace else with some other company that I had. And that's the market today. That wouldn't be the market 4 years ago or 5 years ago, but that's the market today. Numbers to consider. 35% of companies spend $0 on onboarding, which is where people come into work, while spending about $11,000 on average in hiring somebody. So now we're going to talk about retention. Get this is half of all hourly workers leave new jobs within 120 days. 50% turnover in the first 120 days. 86% of new hires make a decision to stay or go in the first 6 months. And I will tell you, my guess is it's the first 2 or 3 months. New employees were 69% more likely to remain in a company and up to 3 years and after if they had an effective onboarding process. And we're going to talk about the onboarding here in just a second. And what is onboarding? Retention of new employees. Onboarding, the first week, and I'm talking about manufacturing workers. I'm talking about a janitor. I'm talking about the person that cleans your room at Red Roof Inn. Should be scheduled. Every day, every time, there should be an orientation. The process should be scheduled out. And then there should be an outline for them for 3 months that you're checking on them. In that onboarding process, sure, you're going to do the orientation. You're going to do the safety, the handbook, the facilities, the things we always do in orientation, but you want to do more. You're going to talk to them about training. I can't tell you how many employees we have seen leave jobs because they said, I was never trained and I was frustrated. I wanted to do a good job, but I didn't know how to do it, and then when I didn't do it right, I got yelled at. Okay? So training. Tell, show, watch, and then let them do it. Rules. They should know the rules. They understand the rules, but don't let them guess what the rules are. They need to understand what the rules are and what applies to them. Now, retention. You've been through orientation. You got your onboarding process. How do I retain them? I call it embedding. Okay? Let your minds go to dirty spots here, all right? We're talking about embedding the associate in your organization. How do I get them to want to work for my company? Well, first off, where do you want to work at? You want to work at places that you like, where you like the people, you enjoy the work, you're valued. So, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have a mentor assigned. You're going to have somebody you can go to, other than your boss, not management, but somebody you can go and bitch to or complain to if you've got a problem that you feel like is not being dealt with. Somebody that can tell you not only where the restrooms are at, but you want to avoid this area over here during this period of time because it's real noisy or dirty. Okay? Whatever it is about the company, there should be a welcoming sign. If you're new in an organization, there should be some sort of welcome to this because you know how much money they spent on getting you in here? How much effort and time did we spend on getting that right person in the job? So should we welcome them? Give them a gift. Give them a hat with their company's name on it. Something to say, we appreciate, we're happy you're here. Social interaction. Camp counselors. How many people have been to camp? Okay. First day of camp. How do you feel? Yeah. You don't know anybody there. Okay. You're scared. Don't know what's going to happen. It's no different than it is for a new employee. So what do we have to do? Most companies look at me like, I go to this part and they say, you're nuts. You know, I'm not a camp counselor. I got a supervisor. I got a manufacturing plant to run. When did I become a counselor? You became a counselor when the unemployment rate went to 2.2% and you can't find people to stay here. Okay? Wake up. Okay? Wake up. It's time to see a reality. And that's part of your job now. Part of your job is to make sure that that person is part of the organization. That they understand that they're part of the organization, that they're important to you. And you introduce them to the person they're working next to. You tell them about their kids that are playing softball same age as theirs. You tell them if they have things in common or hobbies, if they're both riding Harleys or whatever it might be. But you're the camp counselor that gets them involved and gets them embedded in the organization. You tell them about how important their job is. I don't care what you're doing. It's important or you wouldn't be getting paid for it. So why is that job important? Why is it important that I do this particular deed and I do it correctly? What happens if I don't? What happens to Mary down the line if I don't do my job right? How do I fit into this organization? If this piece of work doesn't get done and it goes out, what happens? So how do I fit in, and why is my job important? Because they are important. But yet we don't tell them that very often. And we're not very good about telling them how important those things are. What are the company's goals? We list them every year. I am a great goal maker. Okay? I am horrible about following up on my goals. Do you know why most goals are not ever accomplished? Because we never look at them after we make them. We never follow up on them. Every person should understand what the company's goals are. What does that company want to do this year? Do we want to grow? Do we want to improve quality? Do we want to improve efficiencies? What are we trying to get done? Because if I'm asking all those employees to do it, they should know what we're trying to do, shouldn't they? And it should be reiterated over and over again. And what does my company do as part of the community? Remember, we talked about that. When somebody asks you, where do you work? Do you feel good about saying where I work? If you don't, then that company needs to work on something. If you don't feel pride with the company you're working for, and part of that is how do they fit in the community? Are they involved in the community? Do you see them up, providing things through United Way? Do you see them out on the 5K runs? Do you see them actually giving back to the community you live in? Because although some companies look at that and they say, well, that's not that big a deal, it's a big deal. Because that's part of your image, that's part of what you do as part of a community. So those are the kind of things we talk to employers about embedding it. 5 minutes? Okay. There's no magic pill. We work to recruit people you need, and then work to keep the people you have. I love this ad. I don't know if you can see it or not. As a kid, did you ever knock on people's door and run away before you could answer? Well, guess what? We're hiring. I thought that was great. So anyway, that's the things that people are looking for in jobs. They're looking for something to do that's fun, that gives them some pride, and gives them some opportunity to grow. And that's it. Thank you very much. Oh yeah, I know. If there's any questions? Yes, sir.
Out of that 2,600 people that contacted you, how many of those 2,600 couldn't muster up for anything?
What percentage?
Well, yeah.
What percentage could we not find work for?
Yeah, either they were incapable or they had a drug problem or whatever.
Hang on. We put, out of the 2,600, we put about 33 or 34% to work.
So what happened?
Okay, here we go. Out of the 2,600, we interviewed 3 out of 4 of them. We thought they were good enough that we would talk to. There was 25% that we talked to and we said, we can't help you. We understand you're looking for work, but your work history is too bad. You've missed too many days. You no-called, no-showed on us 3 months ago or something like that. So 25% of them we couldn't help. Then out of the interview, we had 3 out of 4 of them that went on to orientation. So during the interview process, there was something that came up or something that we had noticed that we didn't feel like we could place them. For one reason or another, the skill set, whatever it was, came into it, their needs, their demands, whatever it was, but out of that, 1 out of 4 of them we couldn't help. So now we're down to another 25%. And then out of the 50% that's left, we placed about 34% of them. So we had 16% that found other work or we weren't able to place fast enough. That help? We measure everything, I swear.
Is drugs a big problem?
Yes. Drugs, there's 2 or 3 different problems, okay? And I am not a social worker, and I don't even guess on what it all it is. But there is a certain percentage of the population that is not motivated to work. Now, what that motivation is, what's causing that, I have my opinion on different things that cause it. I can tell you this. In 2000, the participation rate in the United States, that's the percentage of people that were working, was 62.2%. So out of 100 people, 67.2% in 2000 were working. The rest of them were in school, retired, housewives, house husbands. They just weren't looking for work. They didn't want to work. Okay? Today, that number is 62.8% that are participating in the labor force. Now that's not quite 5%. That's about 4.4 or 4.6%, I think, 4.4. But 4.4% of 175,000 people in Tippecanoe County is over 7,000 people. So there are 7,000 less people participating in the workforce today than there were in 2000. So that's a problem. Now, I don't know what the cause of it is. I certainly don't have the answer for it, but that's a problem.
One more question?
Yes.
Do you screen your clients as well? So, for example, if a company has a high turnover rate because their culture is not good, you're sending employees to them only to end up leaving and be dissatisfied. And it'll be a revolving door type of thing. So how do you screen your clients, or do you take anyone who wants to use your services?
It's a great question. No, we do screen. And we screen for a couple of reasons. One of them is safety. If it's not a safe environment, we won't do with it. If our employees are not treated well, in other words, if I don't feel confident that the people are if they're going to scream and yell at my people that are going to send out, I won't send them out there. If it's a revolving door, I will talk to the company and I will talk to the leadership in the company. If they're willing to help me and let me help them work on that, then I'd be willing to work with them. If they're not, we won't. Because quite frankly, not only is it the wrong thing to do because I wouldn't send my people out there, but it's not profitable. I spend so much money on trying to get this person in. I find the right person, I send them out there and they're not happy and they leave, I lose money. So not only is it the right thing to do, it's not a profitable thing to do. So yes, we definitely screen, absolutely.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. See, it certainly is a challenging job. I did it for 3 years as a director of human resources for a company. I can appreciate what he's gone through. Chuck, as a note of our appreciation for your spending time with us here this evening, we have a small token of appreciation for what you're going to hopefully enjoy some hot chocolate in the years to come. I shared with Chuck that this club is the second oldest club in the state of Indiana, and we are the 20th oldest club in the world, which is quite an accomplishment. We are the 6th largest club in the state of Indiana. So we've got some growing to do to catch up with Valparaiso, which is number 1. We're going to work on that as we continue to go forward. But let me turn this over to our president, Jim.